Hey, everybody. Welcome to Conquering Stress Podcast. This is Dr. Bill Janeshak, and welcome back. You know what? I'm so excited I'm excited on every episode that we have. But, if you've been watching the last couple of episodes, we've been having a lot of fitness-based stuff. So you've heard me time and time again that stress is physical, chemical, and emotional. We just got off the National Fitness Month. And so we kind of focused on that a little just to kind of give people that are looking for the answers what to do and how to do it. We've talked about some basic stuff that we can get into on when you're dealing with your fitness, walk a mile, do whatever you want to do, get everything going on, or not. This time I want to do something innovative. And we had the LA Tribune's Leadership Week, and I hosted Innovations in Healthcare, and I wanted to get this guy on, but he was so damn busy. Because when it comes to leadership in anything, you want to see the people that, how are you doing it? What are you doing? And how are you getting the results you do? And more importantly, how can you kind of pass that on so everybody can get the results? So I want to introduce Erik Arevalo, the champion of Recode Fitness. That's the name of his gym. And I don't want to call it a gym, but workout system. Erik, I want to welcome you. Thanks for showing up on here, but you work with high level athletes. We're talking about Olympic champions, MMA champions, people from all walks of life at the highest level. And well, I'm gonna let you talk about how you doing today.
First off, yeah, thanks for having me. It's awesome to do this. I love doing these podcasts and having conversations about fitness, health, and you know, I love discussing things with people that are outside the box thinkers, and I think you're one of those in the fitness and healthcare space. So anytime we get the opportunity to hook up, man, I love having those conversations.
Well, isn't it? I feel the same way because when we start to go down the little rabbit holes, it's the outside of the box thinking that gets it. I talk about you and all the time to the people that would resonate with you, is because anybody can go to the local big box gym and pay $19 a month and run on a machine and doing some of the other things. One of the things that I've noticed, the niche that's missing, is we do a real good job of getting sick people not sick. And then you have the way elite athletes that, LeBron James can spend $1 million a month on his training and everything.
Yeah.
But there's that middle ground, or that other people that are healthy. It's like the good. How did the good get great?
Right, right.
And one of the most interesting things is I love the innovation that you had. When I went and visited your gym, I'm like, holy shit. You walk into the place. It was like the first time I walked into a CrossFit. I said, well, where's the machines and everything? And it wasn't like that. It was almost old school grind, which, fitness comes from inside.
Sure.
And then I watched not only your gym setup, but how you were engaging those people. And I was putting on my doctor hat as I was watching that, and I'm like, dude, this dude's engaging all the senses. He gets this shit. Maybe I
Yeah.
shouldn't say shit on my podcast, but it's my podcast, so I'll say whatever I want. But so tell us your history. Where'd you come from? We're a little frozen there for a second. We'll bring it back. But it's amazing as you start coming by and doing the things that you've done. And I know that you were a previous athlete, and
You back on?
yeah, you're there. You froze
Sorry,
out a
you
little, but
froze
that's
up.
okay. So what's your history, dude?
I used to be the weightlifter. I used to be the power, lifter, squatter, bencher. Then I went into the fight gone bad, Fran, the whole deal. And my thing is I'm always looking at what I'm doing, what my athletes were doing. And through that process and time, there had to be more. I knew there had to be more. When I was 21, I was wrestling at Mount Sac, and my wrestling coach was an outside the box thinker, and he took me into the weight room for a lifting session, right? Because he knew I loved the bench press and do all that stuff. But he's like, we're not going to do anything but use a band, a towel, and a ball. And as a 21-year-old, you just say, what does this guy know about strength? And he was a little fella, awesome wrestling coach, but he kicked my ass for 45 minutes and I was dying. And I never felt anything like that before. And he walked out of the gym. He threw the towel on the ground and said, there's more to lifting weights, Arevalo, and walked right out. And I was just laying there like full of sweat, dying. And that kind of started the bug for me. And I still continued to lift. That's all I knew, but I started asking more questions. And then I opened up my first gym in 2008, CrossFit Brea. Then I opened my my second in 2011, and that was CrossFit Whittier. And along the lines or along that timeline, I really started to take a look at the people that were coming in, how we were training, and I noticed there were things that could have been improved on. So what I did was I interviewed 50 people from those two gyms, and we basically conducted an experiment. And over the course of 60 days, to be part of the experiment, you had to do everything I asked you to do. You had to limit your training to 3 days a week. And what we noticed is the deadlift went up, the 2,000-meter row went down, bench press went up, sleep improved, and these milestones people were starting to improve on with only 3 days. Injuries started to go down. They started to get more range of motion. And then that really kind of kicked my interest in the high gear. And what I did was I took those 50 people and I started the third gym, and we went underground. No one knew where the gym was located. Everyone had to sign a waiver saying that there was no Yelp. There was no social media display. We had no website. Like, the 50 people knew where to go, and that was it. No one else had business being here because they weren't ready to adhere to the program at the old spot. So we just took those 50 and ran with it. And as we
Let me
started,
ask you a question then. So in 2008, you're a regular musclehead guy. You're working out, but
yeah.
you kind of got this thought. What was it that drew you to CrossFit in the first? So for those that don't know, like, CrossFit was kind of born of functional fitness, and it has gymnastics, Olympic weightlifting, good cardio, Metcon base. So was at the time where you were thinking out of the box from that, and that brought you to CrossFit?
I was starting to scratch the surface, but I really didn't know what thinking outside the box meant. It's like asking a 20-year-old kid what love is at 21, and then asking him what love is at 41, 51. That you're going to get two different vibes on the answer. And what I thought was thinking outside the box was really an introduction to something that was more than straight barbell lift. Basically, I got into the metabolic conditioning side, the circuit training in the weight room, and that same feeling that I felt when I was wrestling in the weight room, which I hadn't felt before. So I was like, oh man, I'm addicted to this. Like, I love the punishment. I love the feeling, because I'm duplicating what I feel on the wrestling mat in the weight room.
You know what's interesting is when
at
you're
21,
saying that, it was the first time that I experienced this weird thing was CrossFit. And it wasn't even CrossFit, but I remember sitting there because I'd been in the gym doing back and bis, chest and tris, legs and abs, forever, working out. And I remember these guys talking about functional fitness. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I did something simple. It was 21, 15, 9. We're talking about reps. And it was like overhead press and air squats and push or something very basic.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there and I said, well, you want to put some weight on that? And they go, well, no, 95 should be fine. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, I
Yeah.
go, you know what? Shut up. Fine, whatever. And I made it to maybe the first round of 9. And that little vomitous thing was wanting to come up. And I was
Yeah.
huffing and puffing. I had sweat dripping off the of it. And then when we stopped and I hit my knees, I was embarrassed and excited at the same time because exactly what you were talking about, it was like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what this is training. This is getting after it. It's not going through the motions and the thing. So yeah, I totally resonate with what you're saying.
Yeah. You really don't know what hit you. The first time I did that exact same workout, I used 135. So I use a 135-pound barbell, and I say the same thing. I'm like, I'm not using 95 pounds. That's not enough. And I still remember the feeling. Um, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about because you feel like you got hit by a truck, but you're like, man, I love that. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Now, from that point on, I don't know if you ever heard of Mark Twight. He started a gym up in Utah, yeah, Salt Lake City, called Jim Jones, and he's the guy that did all the strength and conditioning for the actors for 300.
Oh,
And he was along the same line, that the mindset. It's like he didn't talk about his location. He's a very, very intelligent man, and I really respected and looked up to him for what he was doing. His training and conditioning facility, because it was different at that time. Even though CrossFit was around, it was still on the lines of that, just tweaked a little different. And the culture he built was amazing. And that's the one thing that I've always wanted to establish in any of the facilities that I've been a part of, is the culture. And I know there's like the CrossFits and the boot camps talk about the culture, but I still think there's a big missing from some of those. And I can't describe what it is, but I've been part of those cultures, and like what I'm part of now, I can't describe the feeling. It's a different vibe. We've had some of our members have been here since, really, they started with me in 2010, and they've been they came over to this facility in 2014 with me, and they haven't left. And, people don't leave here at all. And when they do, they might be gone for, I've had a few women that have gotten pregnant and had babies and come back, but if a few of others have tried at the gyms and then returned. I haven't.
froze up a little there as you're kind of going on. So one of the things that I know that Eric's talking about is it's almost like going to war. And for, some of this will people listening that this will resonate with. And it's when you made it back. There you go. Good. I was just talking that, it's just I think it's the people that come in here, and I felt that early on in CrossFit when we were all drinking the Kool-Aid.
Mhm.
Um, it's the people that come in here. It's like I said, it's almost like going to war, like war buddies. You're
Yeah,
sitting over there, and people are going to war, and I
that's
think that's the vibe.
that's the team. That's really the team concept. And there's two ways to look at it: the people that have been on a team and understand that already, and then the people that have never been on a team. And both, I don't want to say the word fall in line, just for lack of a better term. They get on board with it because, one, you've already been part of that and you know what training in a team is like. And two, when you're introduced to that and you come in and you see the same people over and over, because what we do here is this: we keep you in the same groups. So you see the same team every time you come in. So you build that camaraderie. And that's a big reason why, our culture is so different, because you see the same 8 people every single time you come in here. And the banter is amazing. Just, you get to know each other, and it's a different vibe than just having, even though everyone trains at one facility, when you get new people that usually come in from at 6 p.m. to the 5 a.m., and there's a mixed mash of people. we all know we're under one roof, but it's still not the same team.
Yeah.
It's like taking another player from another team and bringing them up. It's going to take some time to get used to. And it's kind of like that new dog of the wolf pack. It does take some time and to get acclimated. Like, you're still a dog, but you're not on that team all the time. And that's what we've done a great job at establishing here. And the trainers, I mean, everyone has my number. Like, I know where you're at and when you're not here, because the trainers let me know. And I just shoot you a text, say, where you been? Or the trainers do it themselves. And it's just a different, that's what I'm saying. The culture, like, I've never seen anything like it before. And that's where we can, I mean, when the gym anxiety levels are down and you can just get right into work, and there's no like, oh, who's looking at me doing something? Because some of these movements that we do, it takes time to learn.
Well, and that's an interesting thing too, is I've been to your gym, and then,
And it can be.
well, yeah, it was, and like I said, when I've been to your gym, first of all, it was hell to find. I had the address, I knew what everything. There's no sign outside the door like that, and then you walk in. It's the work there is wonderful, but you walk in and it's just a gym
Yeah.
until you walk in the back.
Yeah.
And so, what was the evolution when you started bringing in? Because how do you even describe the stuff that you're doing? Because, like, uh, I see high level agility. I see
Yeah.
very ballistic movements. I see high intensity, and very unique. I know that when you work with wrestlers, you have a mat in there, and then you do certain movements with them. Even your warm-ups are totally different than you've seen anywhere else. Where'd that come from?
It's a really unique program, in that aspect of, it's hard to describe what we do. Um, on the website, I did my best to try and give people just a snapshot so it intrigues them enough to actually make the call. And once you come in and can see it, then you're like, okay, I see it. But you don't really know what you're seeing until you actually feel it. And then it's like, oh Lord, I didn't know I had abs down there. Or I didn't know I could activate the glute that way. Or I didn't know my gait was that far off, or out of alignment. Um, the evolution for me started by tracking down a woman by the name of Dr. Edith Hoyce. And she's been writing about fascia and we'll call it abstract training since the 90s. And she's been a big mentor for me in this process. And I love her to death, because she's very, very, very small, just kind of unassuming, but man, she's super strong, bro. It's like when we're standing next to each other, she's not even up to my elbow, damn near. She's like 5'1". I'm 6'3", and it's kind of funny we're in the same frame of each other. But she's a genius when it comes to this stuff. And a lot of stuff that you're seeing, on the TikToks and on social media right now came from her. And the people that are actually putting some of these athletes through it don't even know it came from her. And that's a big tragedy in my opinion, because she originated a lot of this, the barefoot training, the abstract stuff. She's been a huge study and student of movement. And if you talk to her, she'd be another great one to have on your podcast.
Yeah, sounds like it.
She's amazing. She's been in tune with movement since she was a little girl, and she just grew up now um, obsessing about movement, and then it led to fascia. And she would, like I said, talking about how the fascial network can propel an athlete to a higher level way before people even knew what the word fascia meant. So when I tracked her down, because I kept seeing, I brought this book that she wrote, um, and I read it, and I'm like, man, who is this woman? And no one had heard of her. I couldn't, it was really hard to find her. And finally I did. And I went and spent some time with her, and we've reconnected again, and we're going through some stuff now. She's working with me again, and it's a game changer, man. But she's a huge, huge reason of why I think the way I do. And kind of going back to the CrossFit, when I was watching my athletes train, they would leave the gym, and even at an 80% maximal deadlift effort, 5 sets of 2, 5 sets of 3, it was still leaving them beat up for practice over the course of 2 or 3 days. And the recovery was really, really slow and limited. And one day I finally put it together and I said, hey, I called a meeting, talked to my people, and I said, look, we're gonna go away from the heavy weightlifting and we're gonna start training in a little bit different fashion. And since then, it's evolved. And where it started to where it is now is completely changing. And a huge reason is because as you start to, as a coach, and you start to get into this, you start to figure out more and more and more, and you're looking at things from a different lens, and you just layer it on. It really is, in my opinion, a black belt system. One, as a coach, you're constantly learning and mastering things, but when you bring these athletes in, I have to explain to them, and even non-athletes, just regular people that aren't that.
Yeah, I mean that when you're doing that stuff, it was one of the things that I found missing, and why I educate in my course and in my office, is a lot of people are getting the high level things that we can do. The thing, everybody knows to do. You can curl, you can squat, you can do these
I
basic.
see
Oh, there you are. But we can do those basic things, and then they keep running out. There you
all
go.
right.
The we broke the internet. So we were so much dropping such truth bombs going on there. But
I don't know where you tailed off at.
well, I was just kind of going off of what you said. It was those micro things that nobody thinks about. Everybody thinks about muscle and moving, and that's what gets on TikTok. And those are the things that we're talking about: back and biceps, chest and tries, legs and abs. And if you want more, then work out more. And it's general information. But when you want to get real results, like if you're really interested in optimizing yourself, you've got to look at the fascia. When people don't even know what fascia is,
Yeah.
and you're not using or even aware of one of the biggest moving things for your whole body, the neurological integration I'd mentioned before about eye movements, auditory movements, quick changing, proprioception, and balance and body control. Everybody wants to do the 600-pound deadlift so that they
Right.
can high five themselves. And some people can do it, but they wreck themselves.
Yeah. And the thing is, I always say that speed is a language. And if you don't ever speak it, it's going to be really hard to perform it when it comes to your sport. And we're talking just for sports right now in this context. I don't know how a coach expects his players to be fast if they always train slow. And we see that a lot. And even, you talked about people not knowing what fascia is. I would say a good chunk of people don't even know what plyometrics are. A box jump, in my opinion, is not a plyometric. It's too slow. And to describe what we do, it's really hard. But to say that we train by certain principles, it's really easy. And to know what those principles are means you have to be here to understand them. Because I can tell you, I need you to leave the ground in 0.15 of a second. And you can possibly imagine what 0.5 looks like, but you don't know what it looks like or how hard it is to move that unless you've tried it. And there's certain things that when you do it and you're in front of me, I could tell you, okay, look, you're close to that, but your heel dropped, or it's a huge pronation. Now we're looking at tearing the ACL. We need to straighten some things out before we even try. So it's really hard to describe what we do because we don't fit the mold of any one thing. Like right now, I have a fresh group of athletes. I have a world champion jiu-jitsu lady who just started with me, Margot, and we have to rebuild the structure with her. She's really screwed up. I mean, she's twisted one way. She's biasing her squat to the right. And there's just a whole component now that we have to do before we even get to speed work. And when this is why I define us as coaches, not trainers, because I'm not saying 3 sets of 15. I'm coaching you to understand the same way I would coach her to understand wrestling or jujitsu. It's a process. I can't teach you a high level jujitsu movement if you've never done it before. I can't expect you to be moving at 0.15 and a plyometric based movement if you don't have the foot strength to do it. So we're literally having to back up in order to progress her. And I'm telling she's been here now 3 times. And she goes, I already feel like I'm moving better. And I'm like, well, yeah, I've heard that I've heard that usually within 2 weeks, a week, but we're getting her into positions just by, first of all, breath work, getting her rib cage to stack over the hips and not so far anterior or posterior tilted. It's like, oh, okay, wow. She can now start to feel the low abs, and she's moving in ways that are now, her brain is starting to allow that to keep going, where before it was sending the signal of pain and shutting it down. So all these little things, come into play. And how do you describe that? How do I tell you what that system is?
You can't. So the most interesting thing about that is if anybody outside in the outside world would look around and see Margot, and you see that she's a champion, she's this and she's doing that, you can go like, don't mess with the success. This girl's at the top of her game.
Mm.
But true champions and true people that are really trying to, and this doesn't even matter in it could be sports and business and relationship. You got to break it down even further. If you want to be the very best, you've got to bring everything together and have someone like you that's looking at it going, yeah, I know you're great, but you have to, you're biasing here, you're off here, and doing these little things that, little hinges swing big doors. And it's like Tiger Woods did back in the day, champion everything, but he knew he couldn't be the best unless he changed his swing. So he stepped back
Yeah.
to teach himself. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what you're doing with these athletes. And
And it's what's cool is that um all the coaches here have that mindset. And that's what's so awesome is that we like before this call, one of my coaches and I were doing an assessment on me just to look, because I'm like, man, something doesn't feel right. And me and my top guy, Wes, we're literally just looking at lines. He said, look at this, dude. He goes, you are completely tilted to the right. So now we're trying to work on me breathing, forward on the right side of the rib cage and out the back on the left to straighten everything out. And we're just after a little bit different things because I need to be able to function. And I can tell you, like when I'm wrestling, I go into my underhook and I'm stacked on this side, and then I've been feeling pain. So now I've been using my other side, and now I'm creating this imbalance. And it kind of going back to how do you describe what you do? It's really, you can't, because it's not a linear program.
well, it's an experiential thing that you have to do. One is you have to be at a high enough level that you can understand what's going on. Then you have to actually feel, because if you hear something, you can get knowledge of it.
right.
But it's not until you get experience where you have the wisdom. And you're a perfect example. So today I was out early, I was getting blood work because it's time for me to check.
Yeah.
And I'm at the gym and I'm working on myself. I'm not perfect. I have to work on myself. And just like you said, you're actually in the weeds. You're not the 320-pound football coach who's telling people how to work out.
Right.
It was, a gangster knows a gangster, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it brings me to another question, which is boggles my mind, and I've been trying to figure this out, and maybe you can help. There's that place when we go when you're at high intensity, that thing that when you can't breathe and your legs hurt and it sucks. There's nothing pleasurable about it.
Yeah.
And then we go back and it's a driven thing. And I don't know, it's a philosophical thing, but it also says something about human development. What do you think is the difference between the person that is chasing MMA champion,
Yeah.
Olympic champion versus the guy that's he might be in the gym 3, 4, 5 times a week, backing by his chest and tries legs and abs,
Yeah.
20 minutes of cardio, kind of watches his diet, but when things get uncomfortable, they don't go. What's the difference?
I, that's a tough one because I think about when we started, I knew where you were going with that because it's something I think older athletes struggle with a lot. And that's, do they want to keep going back to that place? Like I've seen in the sport of MMA, I've gotten to corner quite a few fighters and be around the fights a whole lot. And you can see, where there's an athlete or a fighter that has a really tough, like just all out war. The crowd loves it. They're banged up. I mean, they got a bonus for just destroying themselves out there. But you never see that come back again because they don't want to go back down that road. They don't want to train that hard again. Like in their mind, they still want to do it, but they just don't want it. They broke in that fight. And then I've seen the other one where guys will just, they love that. They're in the fight all the time until they can't do it physically anymore. I think I think the people that are able to keep that level, like a 2,000 meter row and they're chasing that, 6:30 time or 6 minute time, whatever it is, and they can go to that dark place over and over and over again. I think those people are really, really disciplined in their life. And it doesn't matter like what is there for them. They just know that this is their assignment and they have to do it the best to their ability. It's like Tom Brady. He said, I never once said I want to be the best in the world. I just want to be the best at what I was doing in that particular moment. And he was so disciplined in everything he did that he just layered and layered skill on skill on skill and got better and better and better. And it didn't matter how hard things were. He just knew he had to show up and always, whether he was in that dark, uncomfortable place or not, it was just keep driving, you know?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. And I've tried to figure it out because I'm like, what drives me? It was like if I don't get into the gym
Yeah.
and move, I don't have to lift weights or something, but just move and
Yeah.
challenge and seem like you get better. I feel like I'm not giving it all. Like, I mean, I'm here for a reason. I don't know what it is, but
Right.
I just could never figure out the difference because it's like patients will come to me
Hmm.
and I'll say, oh yeah, well your neck's messed up, your diet's off, you're
Hmm.
not moving X, Y, and Z. We've got to do this. Here's a treatment plan. You can get here. And they go, oh, that was kind of, I didn't have time to do this exercise. I don't like this type of food. The detox was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
need new shoes. And I'm like, well, do you want this? Well, yeah, but what else can I do? It was like, well, you're not even doing the basic. And
Yeah.
you have to acquiesce to their level of I don't even know. But in the gym, it's the same thing. Somebody wants, their Instagram body or their 600
Yeah.
pound deadlift or, a 2 minute Fran time.
Well, how do you, I guess that begs the question, how do you achieve all that when you sleep on a $10,000 mattress? And that just comes down to comfort.
Yeah.
We're so comfortable now that the thought of doing something hard is literally just a world away for a lot of people. And what we used to think was hard isn't even close to what it is now. Meaning, sometimes people just getting up off the couch is hard.
Yeah.
And like you should be able to run, a 10-minute mile coming off the couch, like with no training. and we're seeing people not even do that. Like I have kids, partly from sciatic or from COVID and stuff that have sciatic issues, and they're a freshman in high school. I didn't know what I didn't know what the sciatic was in high school. I didn't know what the ACL was. I didn't know what a lot of these tears and ligament, because no one was getting that. We were outside running around playing. So I don't want to say like, we're the last of the dinosaurs, when it comes to that mentality, but it seems not all, but it just seems like that's, these kids, these young adults coming up, and even adults my age have gotten so comfortable that working like hard is just, I don't want to do it. I think I want to do it. I call it the Rocky syndrome. We watch the training montage of Rocky. We get all fired up. We go out there for 2 weeks and we're like, yep, I did it. And now you watch the meter just start to go down. Every January we see that. Gyms
Yeah.
are packed.
Have you read The Comfort Crisis?
No.
Good book. I forget the author, but he was a health journalist for like one of the men's magazine, and then he went off into the tundra and was hunting like a 2 week trip, and he was talking about same thing, but the comfort level that we get used to, that we're everything is comfortable. We have 72-degree gyms that are air conditioned, and what's that other crappy gym that Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
Well, you can't make noise. They
Yeah.
give free pizza.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's like everything so that people can pretend they're working out,
Yeah.
but it just makes them happy. But they said sleeping on the floor, or
Right.
getting food that doesn't taste good, but you need to have for nutrition. Um,
Yeah.
the bar has been lowered so much to what a hard is, and I know Tim Grover talks a lot about that. If you guys
Uh-huh.
don't know Tim Grover, he wrote Relentless and Winning, and he was Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant's coach.
Yeah.
And he talks about winning, and he said about, you know, you got to get out and do it, but the bar has been lowered so much that it's so easy to be good, and
Yeah.
most people can stop there, but to
Yeah.
be great compared to others, but then great compared to yourself, you've got to do these things.
And you talk about the discipline. It's a really underrated word. People like to use. I'm seeing discipline show up more and more now, in social media posts and that stuff. But we had a shirt that used to say it was discipline and motivation, but discipline on top, a line here, motivation. So it was discipline over motivation, because motivation is garbage. It
Yep.
fades. If you're disciplined, you're always, it doesn't matter if you're sick, it doesn't matter what it is. And I'm not saying you have to work out when you're sick. I'm just saying you still have to get up and be productive. I can't stop being a dad because I'm having a crappy day at work, or,
Wait. You're not taking mental health days?
yeah, yeah, right, right. And that's the other part, where you started to kind of, I think, go down that road. Is like training ourselves. Like, you're in this space, you can tell someone how to make improvements on their body, and then what's left for you, for yourself. The last thing I want to do sometimes is be in the gym, because there's days when I'm here at 5 a.m. and I don't go home till 6 p.m. And I'm just busting through, and to have the same level of energy that I have for my 5 a.m. crew that I do my 6 p.m. crew, it has to be there, because 6 p.m. doesn't give a shit if I was there at 5 a.m. You know,
Mhm.
they want to be coached the same way I coached everybody. And when you have so many different personalities and athletes, there's sometimes not sometimes, you really get to dial in on the people you're working with, and when to push, what button to push. I know when I can joke with certain people. Most of the time I know when my girls are menstruating. I've known them that long. I have a HRV monitor that allows me to access all of their scores, and I can say, oh, look at this dive right here. And I can almost call it when they walk in, and they get pissed at me for doing it. But knowing people like that really gives me the ability to push them when I know I can, and then to back off, because there's times where you can't push people all the time, and it's taken me some time to realize that as a coach. Also, people come to the gym for different reasons. Some people don't give a shit about dropping 20 pounds. And that hit me one time when there was I found a coin in the bathroom, and this guy called me that day, and he's like, "Hey, I left something in the restroom. Did you find it?" And he didn't want to tell me what it was, or at least say it out loud. I said, "Yeah, I got it. It was it was a 12 steps coin."
Ah,
And I said, "I have it for you, man. Don't worry about it." And he came back. He's like, "Hey, dude, I just want you to know your facility is the reason why I'm still here, because I would have drank myself to death." And I realized, like, people don't always come here just to lose weight and look good. He was coming here to stay alive, because he had a group of people that would constantly show up that weren't alcoholics and pushing him to drink. And it was a place for him to escape everything else outside. And that's why, and I learned that early on, because when you ask, if you would have asked me when I was younger, like, "Oh, dude, we need to be able to fight dinosaurs and lift asteroids if they're going to come hit Earth." And then I learned, like, hey, man, there's more to what we're doing than just having a six pack.
so you stole my segue that I always go back to, is that we live in a meat suit,
Yeah.
and and our meat suit is fun and it's great to work out, but the meat suit is only job is to carry around our spirit and our dreams and our goals and our purpose for being on here. So you may want to make the world's biggest quilt, and maybe that's the reason you're here on this earth. God bestowed upon you the quilting magic that you do, but you need to, in order to make your dreams at the highest level that you can be, you've got to have that meat suit to be able to deliver it. And the faster and the harder and the stronger, the more resilience and the more endurance that you have in order to do that, the better you show up as a person in the world. Because
Mhm.
I'm just like you. What you said was, people want to be fit for different reasons. Sometimes it's to walk their daughter down the aisle.
Mhm.
Sometimes it is to stay
Oh,
out of, to stay in the 12-step program, because we're tribal creatures. Forget how primitive we are.
right.
We want to be in a group, and in that foxhole that we choose there, we want people that understand us. That's the culture. That we don't get that. You don't get that by texting LOL to your bestie,
Right.
and then sending them the meme over there. And that's
Yep.
not bonding. The bonding is going to war, and it
Yep.
could be personal war. It could be an all nighter on finals week. It
Right.
could be bring the shovel, bring your car, don't tell anybody, meet me in the
Yep.
desert, kind
Yep.
of kind of deal.
Yep.
Discipline, health, uh, chasing the best version leaks. It leaks from you, from how you show up for yourself,
Right.
how you show up for the family, how you show up to your job. And it's, to me, it's the definition of success, because you can't give it all in one area for any length of time and not
Right.
have everything else crash down.
That's a great point. The dark place that, when I'm hitting that zone in my training, where I'm like, "Dude, I don't know if I want to do this." For me, I realize it's not for me. I'm doing this for my wife and my son, because I don't have any more medals really to collect. Like, my career is winding down. At this point, I still love to compete, but now it's like I need to be around to take care of my wife. I need to be healthy enough to whoop up on my son when he gets a smart mouth, but be there as a mentor and a father figure to show him how to be a man. And I can't do that when I'm healthy or unhealthy. I have to be that healthy example, because I want him to stay in that. And I look at all his figurines, all his little, his toys, Ninja Turtles, He-Mans, Spider-Mans, Batmans. Not one of those men are overweight. So I realized what he's looking up to, and it's not the dad bod. He's never come home and said, "Hey, I really like this figure right here with the dad bod." So, and if you eat right and you are disciplined in your training, you don't have to really have too much of a special diet. I mean, obviously, always circumstances, hormonal and that kind of stuff. But I think if people start living a little more uncomfortable, they get the results they want to see.
Yeah, and you know what's the interesting thing? I get that a lot when I'm like, so I eat whatever I want.
Yeah,
It just so happens that I get more pleasure out of good food. Do I pass up Ben and Jerry's periodically? Am I
yeah,
eating some chicken wings and just crap? No, I'll have some of that,
yeah,
but it's not the staple in my diet, and I don't look for it to make me feel better. I mean, I'm
right,
not using it I'm using it as social. So I'm
right,
taking the kids out for ice cream, and it's not about the ice cream. It's about sharing a small experience with your kids.
right.
And you can go out and easily do that. And, so my blood sugar doesn't crash and I'm not wrecked for the next 4 hours because I had, an ice cream cone or something like that. And
Yeah,
it's not like I try to go and burn it off at the gym. I can't believe that that's still around. People are trying to outrun their diet. And
you
it's
can't
just,
work a shitty diet.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really funny, but there's one reason why I wanted to go out and highlight you. I'm going to respect your time and I want to wind this down, but I want to kind of clarify for everybody listening is that there's places like this out there. So if you're out there looking for a place, you go like, you know what? I got something in me and I'm not getting it from Globo Gym or X, Y, and Z. I want something that's specific for me and I want to go to war. It's a smaller percentage of the people, but you'll know when you're home. So I would say you guys go Google Recode Fitness. I'll put the website in the notes here. Anything else that way that they can contact you or support you or find out more what you're doing with you and your athletes?
Um, yeah, I'm really not good on social media. I have a kick-ass new trainer. She's come on. She was actually an intern here for a while and like over a year. That's the other cool thing is all of our staff has been here. Wes has been with me since he was my first athlete in 2008. And then I've been his only job really since 2012. He went off to play college soccer, came back, played pro, and then said, "Hey, I'm done playing." And since 2012, he's been working here. Robin's been here for 10 years. Maurice has been here since 2011. But I have a new trainer, and she's handling my social media stuff right now. She really enjoys doing it. So we're starting to get a little bit more post up, but you know, it for a while it was really hard to contact me. Now it's a little bit more accessible. One recode fitness at gmail.com. I figured out how to hook that up to my cell phone because I'm still like a
Hey,
yeah. If I could use a VCR still to watch film, I would.
yeah, look at the little barbell knuckle draggers learning how to do tech shit.
Yeah, yeah. These fingers were not designed to be typing on these little buttons. All right, it's not my fault. When you have bratwurst for fingers, it makes but one recode fitness at gmail.com. You can always message through Instagram. And then the website is recodefitness.com. Like we just got a website up, I think 2 years ago is when we just put it up. So
So that'll go to show you guys that this is old school primal stuff. And it's funny if you go back to the basics and master the basics and go into the details of the basics, uh, that that's where all the magic is happening. So if you can get that stuff done, that's going to be the um, the best thing for you to do. Check out Recode Fitness and get everything that you need to get done.
yeah.
So this is Dr. Bill Janeshak, and I am gonna peace you out over here. thanks for checking out the Conquering Stress podcast, and keep an eye on Recode Fitness and click and subscribe. I'm getting used to saying that because I was keeping this small before, but we want to get this out because we are getting awesome guests on here, just like Erik and a couple of the other people coming on, and more are to come. You should see what's in the queue coming up. So hang out, share this, and we will catch you on the backside. Peace out.
Thank you.